Now, if you're having trouble picking out what truck you should get as your next truck, I'm here to help you. We're going to be talking about the right engine to pick. We're going to be talking about having had this truck for 4 months, or a 4-month review on this Ford F-150 Tremor, and possibly help you out pick out the right trim for you. So we're going to be talking about trucks, we're going to be talking about models, and we're going to be talking about engines here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, because my goal, of course, is to help you with your auto shopping, all your automobile needs. I want to make sure you're well informed, that you're getting the right information. So we're going to cover the real deal right here at Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. So right before we get to talking about trucks, the different engines Ford offers, because there's a lot, the different models or trims that Ford offers, because, well, there's a lot. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification on so you don't miss out the real deal, as we make sure you don't get fooled in the automotive world, because it can be so confusing with all the marketing that's spent by companies, all the marketing money that's absorbed by big time journals, car reviews. Of course, they get perks, they get, flights, they get vehicles left with them for a year, for a week. Here, all our vehicles we buy ourselves. They're our own vehicles, and we're long-term reviewing several vehicles, one of which is this Ford F-150. So let's get started right up. Drop a comment to help us out, and let's get talking about engines now and technology. Let's cover everything you need to know before buying a truck. Let's get started. So let's start her up. So you probably didn't hear a whole lot, but you heard a whole lot more than you used to, because this is the 3.5 liter V6. That's a twin turbo EcoBoost, and the technology here is going to help me out, because all Ford trucks come with great technology. As you can hear there, Copilot 360, reverse, out across the road, great backup camera when it's clean. Don't clean off those backup cameras with your little glove or thumb. Over time, it will scratch the lens. It's plastic lenses, just like the glasses. So that's a big tip, to not have an expensive repair later on, or just pretty much lose your camera. But let's talk about that safety tech. So Ford comes out with a base program for safety to help keep you safe, called Ford Copilot 360. It doesn't cover automatically adaptive cruise control. Of course, it does come with cruise control, but it does come with several helpful safety features. You've got blind spot detection, so on the outside mirrors, you're gonna have a little light up, orangish red, when someone's in your blind spot. Now, that technology isn't invasive or intrusive, it's helpful. So it's not going to cut down your radio. If you're listening to the music, it's not going to cut your music. It's not going to, let's say, start beeping at you just because someone's in your blind spot, but it will light up, and it is noticeable. So it's good without being so good that it's annoying, which is the case for some manufacturers. Ford wants it to be an assistance and not, a nanny or a strict turn of the century, school teacher with the ruler slapping down on your knuckles. Now, what else do we have with that technology? We have lane keeping. So that's not the technology that will keep you in the middle of a lane. It's the technology that will keep you from help you. It's an assistance. It'll help you not get out of your lane. So it's gonna shake the steering wheel and vibrate the steering wheel. It's gonna help bring you back. So it's not gonna drastically turn you back onto the road. It's gonna be an assist. So you're gonna have to put some work into it. But between vibrating steering wheel and the assists slowly bringing you back, that should get your attention. So it's not gonna drive for you unless you literally get Blue Cruise, or you pay for a beefed up package. And the beefed up package gives you adaptive cruise control and lane centering. Lane centering, a lot of people get the idea of, oh, I don't want that. I don't want the vehicle to drive for me. Well, it's actually really great. The lane centering makes micro adjustments on the Ford trucks, so you don't notice. You often are going to ask yourself, did I do that or did the truck do that? Because you have your hand, muscle memory and just naturally responding to the road. You may very well think that you made those micro adjustments to keep you in the right lane. Now stick with us because we're gonna go off-road. But before talking more about technology, engines, and trims or models, let's check out how it takes the bumps, because we are going to talk about comfort. And here's a great point for comfort. I'm doing 50 kilometers an hour on a Ford Maverick. We had to be careful to not bottom out on those bumps. On the Porsches or the Toyota MR2 or the Shelby Mustang, I'll bottom out on these speed bumps if I don't almost completely stop. The Shelby, I literally stop and roll over it, but that's the one that I've bottomed out the Shelby on. And at the Ford Maverick suspension, you could hear it complaining. So huge points for comfort. The Ford F-150 gets 10 out of 10 for comfort because, well, it's got the comfort for volume. It's a very spacious cabin. Wonderful cabin, lots of room, no issues with the rear facing baby seat, tons of leg room, even with the baby seat in the back. So the whole family is very happy with this truck. The family is very happy with the fact that we can go over these speed bumps at the speed limit without slowing down to get home quickly when Layla is wailing in the back because she doesn't like to be in the vehicle at times. Or if she's sleeping, it doesn't wake her up. And we are not slowing down. So the comfort is 10 out of 10. The space of the truck is great. Now, if you go with a Ford F-150 Tremor, it only comes with a 5.5 foot box. And if you take the 2.7 liter engine, don't be mistaken, that's a V6 with 2 turbos. So it's not like GM's 2.7 liter, which is a 4-cylinder with 1 turbo. That V6 with 2 turbos makes 325 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. So I always often hear people saying, oh, but I need to tow, so I can't go with that engine. And they're only towing regularly 2,000-3,000 pounds and rarely 7,000 pounds. If you're towing 7,000 or 8,000 pounds, you're going to be perfectly fine with the 2.7 liter. It'll tow and you'll barely notice it because the amount of torque that engine has, and it makes torque, the pulling power of the truck, at very low RPM, meaning great benefit. It's gonna act more like a 90s or early 2000s diesel that had just barely more torque. It's gonna act a lot like that. So you're gonna forget that you've got a load behind you. Now, let's get back to talking about engines after we show you what this road looks like, because is the technology good to keep you safe when you've got to deal with a lot of water or snow? Well, let's check it out. We're in 2 high. So that's 2 high, and you can tell that I was trying to give it the beans, and the technology keeps you from just shooting off the road. But if we put it in 4 high, can we drive foot to the floor? And I'm doing nothing with the steering wheel, and it's incredible. Now the braking, wow, absolutely wow. We put the foot to the floor, pedal to the metal, and the truck kept itself in a straight line. I didn't do any of this. And how does Ford perform all that amazing technological advancement and safety? Well, Ford actually bought Volvo, Land Rover. They had also owned Jaguar, Aston Martin, and Mazda. And don't try to tell me that they didn't borrow a little bit of technology in the process. Ford's all-wheel drive systems and intelligent all-wheel drive, and in this case, intelligent 4x4 system became much more sophisticated. It went from being extremely archaic in the 80s and 90s to, when you're looking at these new trucks, the technology is absolutely fantastic. It's going to keep you and your family safe. If you're, whether it's a snowy road or a road with a lot of water, Ford's trucks, and whether it's all-wheel drive, intelligent all-wheel drive, or intelligent 4x4, can send different amounts of power to different wheels up to 16 times per second, meaning this truck is fantastic at keeping you in your desired line. And that's not just a straight line. I've taken turns, quite turned, and I didn't get turned up. I've gone right through and I've slid off my trajectory, and it's as if the truck knew exactly where I wanted to go. It started playing with the acceleration and brakes in the wheels to get me back to where I needed to be to have a safe ride. Now, I promised we'd get back to talking about engines, but let's do that while checking out a bit more of this snowy road. All right, so it's safe, it's comfortable, it handles bumps like a total champ. This thing can take a pounding better than, you know, Mike Tyson. This thing is just incredible at taking bumps, great comfort. I've got a back injury from about 15 years ago that still bothers me, and this is the most comfortable vehicle that I have found. Now you can see here, someone has gone somewhat off the road. If you follow those tire marks, someone did eat a snowbank here, and let's see how I let go of the brake, travel through, no issues, emergency stop, no issues. So this thing is going to keep myself and my family safe, and that's big points to Ford for investing to ensure that we have a high quality all-wheel drive system, intelligent 4x4 system. And if you're getting, let's say, another model, one of Ford's SUVs, you will get a very intelligent all-wheel drive system. And Ford has fixed something that a lot of owners or potential owners complained about. This is the 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine, and there's a lot of complaints about it being too quiet. Now, we will do a little startup when we can get the engine cold again. But this 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo engine with 2 injectors per runs with both port injection and direct injection, which is now true of all of Ford's engines. And on the 3.5 liter EcoBoost, it helps engine that can tow up to 13,800 pounds. So the towing is incredible. The payload on a Ford F-150 truck can go up to 2,250 pounds. So great, fantastic payload. And this 3.5 liter EcoBoost has 400 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque. Now, maybe you want more sound. Well, you could throw on a different muffler. You can change up the exhaust on this, or you can go with the V8. Now, the V8 does not tow more than the EcoBoost. The EcoBoost tows more. The V8 tows very close, and actually a little less than the hybrid engine, which we'll talk about last. But we've got the 5 liter V8. If you want more sound, that's the engine for you. If you want a more simplistic setup, no turbos. So you're thinking, I want to do 400,000 kilometers. If you get the EcoBoost in 400,000 kilometers, you may very well kind of rebuild those turbos, or at least the gaskets on them, because they could start leaking a little oil one day. Now, the 5 liter the 5 liter V8, both port injection and dual injection, and how that works is it's all about. The reason Ford has 2 injection systems is because, well, direct injection is the right type of injection. More fuel burn, so either more fuel economy or more power. You can hear the ABS brakes working away quite well. Or you get, you get more power or better fuel economy. But why did they have to go back to the old technology of port injection? Well, direct injection is more efficient, but it's not the cleanest setup. So it can create, if you're idling the vehicle often, it does create carbon buildup when you only have direct injection. So generation 1 of the EcoBoost had that issue. Now, Ford resolved that by bringing back port injection, and it actually is used when the engine is cold. The engine's cold, it runs on port injection. That cleans up any carbon that might be built up, but it shouldn't get built up because direct injection builds carbon when the engine's cold and idling. So that's been resolved, and you're getting 400 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque out of the EcoBoost engine. The V8, you're getting just a little bit more horsepower. So you're getting 410 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. So it's actually less powerful. Now, if you want the most amount of power, but you're going to sacrifice some sound because sometimes there'll be no sound, you've got that Power Boost engine. Now, the Power Boost engine is your EcoBoost engine. It's the 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo with electrification added. So you get an electric unit added to the vehicle, which means sometimes you're going to be riding and it's going to be dead silent, and that's how you can get the best fuel economy. You get an average of 9.8 liters, as low as 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers, but you can get up to about more like 10.5 liters as the EPA average per 100 kilometers if you're running something bigger like this. You know, if you're running a crew cab with a 6-foot box. Now let's talk about those models. If you want to save a lot of money and you still want some look, like a good looking truck, you can go with the STX. The STX is essentially visually tricked out XL. So the STX is going to give you either 18-inch or 20-inch wheels. You're going to have the inside be black, possibly some yellow stitching. So look at the differences between 200 level STX and 201. You can also get that with dual exhaust in the back. So very cool. A lot of look for not a lot of money. You can also, if you want something that's really more just work truck, well, you've got the XL. Then you've got the STX for all those added looks, but still no heated seats, no electric seats. But it does come with the base technology that they all come with, which is blind spot detection, lane keeping, prepping the brakes, and even braking in case of emergency. Post-collision braking, you hit something and instead of the truck just rolling off into the other intersection, the vehicle will know it's been in an accident. It'll hit the brakes. If you've got your phone connected and you've allowed it, you've said yes, it'll even try to call 911 when the airbags have deployed, even if you're unconscious. So great technology. They all come with backup camera, of course. They're all going to be fantastic over the bumps, because something that's interesting about Ford is some companies give you a lot of gadgets, but they make you pay for better mechanics, better brakes, better suspension, better engines, better transmissions. So you get the less expensive models and you're forced with, a 4-cylinder and a truck engine or a 6-cylinder, and lower mechanics, not the same engine, not the same brakes and transmission and suspension. Well, now Ford is giving you all the high quality parts, the reliable parts, the long lasting parts out the box, but you pay arm and leg for added comfort. If you want heated seats, not only do you go to an XLT, you need to go to the top of the trim line, or just about the top of the trim line, with an XLT 302. Now, at that point, you could still have chrome, but for next to nothing, you can add very little money. You add black appearance package and you get rid of all the chrome, you get the dark grille, you get the dark wheels, and you get the shifter up front. Sort of like the sport style shifter, what used to be called a sport model, and before that what used to be called an FX4 model when we go back a few generations and we're looking at those 2011 to 2014 and including 2014 model year F-150s. So you want your old style FX4, which now is just like a an added equipment to put protection armor underneath the vehicle and have a little button to help you with downhill cruise control. Well, sorry, it's downhill compression of the transmission to help you maintain speed. Well, that's FX4 now. You also have the XLT 303 package, which allows you to have leather or leather-like in the Ford F-150. After that, we've got the Tremor 401. The Tremor 401 is what we're driving right now. So we've got half what appears to be leather and cloth seats. It's a great bargain, but you can only have it with a 5.5-foot box. Just like the STX, that only comes with a 5.5-foot box, and I do recommend the 2.7 liter on that engine is fantastic. Look at the specifics to how much it can tow according to Ford's towing guide, but generally a tow is basically roughly right around 8,800 pounds. If you want to tow the most, go with the EcoBoost engine. It tows up to 13,800 pounds. And if you want to tow quite a bit, you can go with that Power Boost and save on fuel. Will you get a lot of fuel economy on the highway? No, because the 10-speed transmission that's available on all the truck engines does a great job of saving you fuel on the highway. So where does that leave us? Well, that leaves us, if you do a lot of town driving, the power boost is going to be absolutely incredible. It doesn't have its own, like, people ask, how much autonomy does it get? The answer is, it depends. The vehicle decides when it goes into all electric mode or all gas mode or a mix of the both, but it is a smaller 1.1 kilowatt battery, so don't ever expect to get miles and miles of all electric driving. It's mostly going to go into all electric mode at low speeds, going down hills and on a flat surface, and generally not on the highway, because the wind resistance will just drain that battery really quickly, folks. So it's comfortable. Yeah, check. It's top quality comfort, 10 out of 10. Mechanically, these are very reliable. Like any product, there are a few that have issues, but overall, the Ford F-150 is extremely reliable, and it's one of the factors that has helped it be the #1 selling truck for a very long time, and the #1 selling vehicle in Canada for must be like 60 years, and the #1 selling vehicle in the United States for decades as well. So it's a loved truck. I don't love all of them, you know. I have to be, you know, open and honest and unbiased. The 5.4 liter from Ford had a few issues, but the EcoBoost had more than a few issues with Generation 1 back in 2011, 2012, and 2013. But now that we've got direct injection as well as the port injection, I highly recommend the 3.5 liter EcoBoost. The 2.7 liter, we've had it in Broncos. We have friends that have it in their trucks. I have a lot of customers that run that 2.7 liter, and I've test driven it a lot. It's powerful. It's a wonderful, delightful motor, and I hope you won't steer away from it because someone's told you, well, that's not an engine that can tow. That's just really not the case. It's an engine that you won't be able to get a 6.5 foot back box with the Super Crew setup. And I highly recommend that you get a Super Crew because the Super Cab resale value is quite low. If you're gonna keep your truck over 10 years, like you're gonna keep it 15, 20 years, go with whatever's best. But if you want great resale, STX has fantastic resale. An XLT 302 or 303 has fantastic resale. For resale, avoid the Chrome, and the Tremor right now has the best resale. But what's above a Tremor? You've got the Lariat 501 and 502. What's above a Lariat? You've got the King Ranch, then the Platinum. But right between the Lariat and the King Ranch, you've got the Tremor 402. That's a full leather, beautiful interior, but it's a full leather Tremor, and it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's essentially a baby Raptor, a little brother Raptor, because the Raptor starts off with a 3.5 liter EcoBoost, high output, just a little bit more power, and you can easily get that from just tuning your Tremor. Now, you won't have the same aesthetics on the outside, but you are going to have similar things. The engine is similar. You're not going to have the same suspension, but I can promise you the Tremor suspension has been very comfortable. Now, we've owned a 2019 Ford F-150 Raptor, 19 or 17. Anywho, it was very, very comfortable because that extreme off-road suspension, it's made for going through the desert and flying over bumps and jumps at high speeds. It is the most comfortable vehicle I've ever been in, but the left-right wobble, taking turn, highway, ramps, on ramps, off ramps, wasn't as good as the Tremor. This Tremor is more solid for that high speed, day-to-day driving. Now let's check out a very snowy area and see how that intelligent 4x4 performs. Of course, with the Raptor, you can also get it with a 5.2 liter supercharged engine, and that's just bonkers fun, but good luck. If you can afford it, you're a lucky individual. So no issues going up a snowy, slippery hill. And yes, it is slippery. I'll show you right here. Again, ABS coming through for us. Great backup camera when it's clean. A little adjustment because it's not clean, so I almost backed up into the snowbank. And the backup sensors are not standard, but most of the trims you're going to be looking at will have it. Now we're running on the original Ford grabber tires, so these are legal year-round, but they're definitely not the best winter tires, but they've done a good job for us. So part of the 4-month review, as we hit the brakes, the grabbers aren't the stickiest tires. Let's try that again. Up to 30. And fine making it to the stop sign because of the Ford tech. The Ford ABS brakes make up for what we lose on grip for these tires, but I love having one set of tires that I run year round. Now for greater safety, of course, we would run a full out winter tire. And I really like the Nokian. And these grabber tires, I'm not finding them, like I'm not complaining. I've owned BF Goodrich KO2s before, and while I prefer a little bit more the look, and I love that tire on wear, stay tuned. We'll find out how these general grabbers wear, but so far, I'm not sure. I'll wait. And part of the 4-month review that I want to conclude with this is that no truck is perfect. Our truck here has had what could be, maybe it's something. It's making like a tap, 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 tap noise. It could be just because of ice, because we've had a lot of ice. Front sonar, front camera. I love getting these trucks with 360 camera. So you can have 360 camera. It's like a bird's eye view over the truck, and you see everything that's around the truck. And having the sensors in the front and the back, it's just fantastic. I love it. This thing is so unbelievably safe. When I back up into the road, if there's traffic coming, it's gonna beep and let me know traffic is coming. But we have either some sort of ice related issue causing what almost sounds like an issue with a table, or maybe one of the bolts from the wheel. It sounds more like it's coming from the table, but we'll find out. Stay tuned. We'll find out what that is. I've also had some customers talk about their touchscreen, the 12-inch touchscreen, going just not starting up, and usually that resolves itself. It has rarely ever been a real problem with the screen itself, and has almost always been a problem with just the system needing an update, and the system updates itself, especially if you've got Ford Pass and you've connected it to your home's Wi-Fi, your internet. They'll repair these things overnight for you, which actually has been pretty fun to not have to leave the vehicle off at the dealership. Now, I haven't used the locking rear diff on this truck, but I have used it on an F-150 before, and it does get you out of some pretty bad situations. The technology's good. Your Tremor comes base with Bang and Olufsen sound system. And I'm happy it came standard with it, but I wouldn't pay more for it, because I find the Ford F-150 trucks sound systems are very good out of the back. Now, if you're an audiophile, you're not going to find it good enough. You know, it's not the equivalent of a sound system that you'd add into a vehicle for $3,000–$4,000. But for your regular music listener, they'll say that's very good. And I find the bass one very good. And I find the Bang and Olufsen, yes, a step up, but I wouldn't pay extra money for it. It's very, very good. But the bass system is maybe too good because it doesn't leave me desiring more. I have more, I'm happy, but that's my take on the sound system, and maybe whether if you're considering to pay extra for a Bang & Olufsen, well, maybe not get it. But the best thing is go to a dealership and try both. Sit in one truck without Bang & Olufsen, see how you feel. Adjust the settings. The sound system gets a lot better when you adjust the settings. When you add treble and you add some bass, the standard sound system gets worlds better. Now, of course, we've got these auxiliary switches up here, needed for some, not needed for most. Your rear window back there starts to come standard on an XLT 302. So you don't get that sliding rear window unless you get an XLT 302. And I would never take a roof, a panoramic roof without that window, because when I've had the glass roofs, if I didn't open that back window, it made an annoying vibration that affected my ears, unless you open enough the rear windows. But if you've got kids in the back, you might not be able to open up those rear windows. So that's why I find that window quite useful. Now, I hope this has been a very useful review. I'm going to go outside, so stick with me for one last thing. I want to go show you the exhaust. The 3.5 liter EcoBoost sounds almost like a tame V8. The 3.5 liter EcoBoost got a lot of slack for making no sound. People that are still telling you that just aren't up in the know. They're not up to date. When this cold starts, it sounds pretty mean. And of course, it won't be a cold start. So you have to stay tuned for one of our you have to subscribe and turn bell notifications on to check it out when we do cold start this thing. But let's just go take it from a startup. So stay tuned, and then we'll wish you all more cars and more power, but stay tuned.